What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the Fumble Pod. We're talking NFL, baby. We're talking Week 11. There were some good games. Out of the six we picked, we only went 3-3. That's which typically is a bad thing. I'm not a fan of only going 3-3, but it means that we actually had some good games that went other directions than we thought. So be it. I am your host, Dalton Lee. Let's just jump right on into it. First off, we had our Thursday night matchup. We had the Jets travel to New England, play the Patriots. Patriots were 13.5 point favorites. We picked the Pats to win. It was a no-brainer. Patriots go out there and they pretty much dominated the game from the get-go. Jets did score on their opening drive and looked pretty good doing so, but then once New England got the ball rolling, that was all she said and wrote. New York did cover the 13.5. I think they only lost by 13. Travion Henderson had a day. Drake May didn't have a terrible day. Drake May had a very good day as well. Travion Henderson had a very good day. He had the hat trick. He had 3 touchdowns. I believe 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. He had a phenomenal day. I mean, the Jets defense couldn't do anything to account for him. Patriots defense was really good. Jets offense was, after that first drive, just really abysmal. Can't get a whole lot going in the passing game. Ground game's very lackluster. And Patriots, once they got into that driver's seat, they just kind of full steer ahead and just went right through them. Bad enough that the Jets have benched Justin Fields for Tyrod Taylor for their next game. And the Patriots are in a position to possibly lock up their division sooner and later and possibly be the 1 or 2 seed in the AFC West. So, Patriots winning in the crucial times against teams that they should. They're not playing around with their food. They're getting right after it and they're winning. Nothing wrong with it. Can't go bad with it. Then we jump into the 1 o'clock game we talked about. We had the Buccaneers on the road to Buffalo to play the Bills. Bills were 5.5 point favorites, and I picked the Bucs in an upset. And for a good chunk of this game, there was a chance it was going to happen. Bucs and Bills went back and forth. Baker Mayfield had a pretty good day. Josh Allen had a pretty good day. James Cook had a pretty good day. That Sean Tucker guy, which I like to think I know a decent bit about the NFL. Never heard of the guy. Sean Tucker, running back for the Buccaneers, had a pretty good day for himself. But the Bills did come out on top and won 44-34, I believe. And the big difference in this game was the fact that the Bills were ever able to be more sustainable on offense than the Buccaneers were. Buccaneers had a couple miscues here and there, some rough plays. And the Bills were able to capitalize on it, get home on Baker, force him to either have to throw the ball away or force him to run on big passing downs, get a couple stops. Josh Allen, James Cook, they were doing really good. The only weird thing that's going on is Keon Coleman didn't do a whole lot. I don't think he even played. I think he was inactive, last minute inactive. Apparently, the reason why he was inactive was because he was, I can't remember if they said late or missed a team meeting on Friday right before. So they shut him down completely. So weird for a guy that's a second year player you would expect to be their soon number one option, just kind of fall off face of earth after having a pretty good, pretty solid rookie year. But regardless, Bills were able to go out, handle business. I mean, Josh Allen, James Cook, they're able to do a lot of the offense. The only matter is, is it sustainable for a full season and postseason? Regular season, I think just having it be Josh Allen and James Cook be your hero ball players can work. But once you get to the postseason, that's where it gets tricky because eventually they are going to kind of eliminate those options and force you to go elsewhere. And that's where we normally see the Bills fall a little short. Granted, you can look back and more times than not, it's the defense that kind of falls short. And this defense is not very good. They're average, probably maybe a little above average at times, but this is not the best Buffalo defense that we've seen them have in the last couple years. So now, if you can eliminate the offense, your defense isn't really going to bail you out a whole lot, especially when you get to the postseason and you're playing against the better teams. All I'm saying is, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm worried. Bucks, you're on a little bit of a losing streak, Bo. You've had a rough past 4 or 5 weeks, which I mean, I guess the only thing helping you is that your division hasn't been very good. But Carolina Panthers, they own you. They own you. Bucks are 6-4. Panthers 6-5. Panthers are right there within striking distance. Not saying Panthers gonna win the division. I'm just saying Panthers are right there in the mix. Bucks have already played the gauntlet of their schedules. Their back half is a lot easier, so I would still see the Buccaneers winning 10 or 11 games, making the postseason no problem. But good thing games are played on the field, not on paper. And I will say, I'll throw this in there quickly before we get to the 4 o'clock games. Shout out to Panthers. Panthers had a good week. Won in overtime against the Falcons in a game in which Bryce Young had his best game as a professional quarterback. Threw for 448 yards, 3 touchdowns. T-Mac had 2 of them. Xavier Legette had 1. Got to overtime, had to win it. Bryce Young actually had a really efficient day. No turnovers, big crucial passes. Maybe he's turning the corner. I don't know. I have to wait and see. I'd have to see something like this 2 weeks in a row. Now, I'm not saying I need to see Bryce Young throw 400 yards next week. But if he gets a very efficient, very well orchestrated 250, I'll like the trending direction they're going in. Granted, they play the 49ers next week, so I'm not banking on it too much. Then we get to the 2 4 o'clock games. So the first one, the game I was most excited for, the game of the week. You had the Seahawks travel to LA to play the Rams. Rams were 3.5-point favorites. I thought the Rams would win 38-35. I thought it was going to be a very high scoring affair. And it really wasn't. It was a battle of great defenses. We said last week how good these defenses are, and boy, are they phenomenal. Boy, are they phenomenal. Rams end up winning by 2 points. And it's kind of insane because you watch the game and you're like, the Rams are somewhat dominating. Matthew Stafford only threw for, I think, 130 yards, 140 yards. No major turnovers. Sam Darnold threw 4 picks. 4 picks, no touchdowns. 4 picks. And yet they still only lose by 2 points. That just shows how good the Seahawks truly are. Yes, you lost the game. Yes, the Rams won. But the fact that your quarterback threw 4 interceptions and you still only lost by 2 points and had a chance to kick the game-winning field goal, I mean, you can't feel super, super bad about what happened. Granted, you still can because you look at it and go, okay, well, if he doesn't throw 4 picks, we win the game. Yes, but the fact that your quarterback threw 4 picks and you were still within 2 and had a chance to win it speaks volumes about how good your team is. To where if you can instill confidence and have him play better in matchups like this, you probably beat the Rams, probably blow them out. Because that Seahawks defense was phenomenal against the Rams. Rams didn't have a whole lot of open opportunities on anything, couldn't run the ball that well. Passing game was a little lackluster. And the Seahawks offense, granted they were also playing a really good defense, was actually able to move the ball quite a bit. It just so happened the reason why the Rams were able to score a little more was because Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. But even with all that said, they still only lost by 2. It wouldn't shock me if there was a chance that these 2 teams would meet up again in the NFC Championship. I believe they still have to play each other one more time. I think. I could be wrong. But it would not shock me if these 2 teams were to end up playing each other in the NFC Championship. Would it be the same game we just saw this past weekend? I don't know. But I think it would be a very fun, very heavily contested game. The type of stuff we really just want to see out of high quality football. Another game that we got wrong, another game we got wrong, but was actually really entertaining. Chiefs traveled to the Broncos. This is one of the other 4 o'clock games. Chiefs were favored 3.5. I thought Chiefs were going to come back and be ready to get things rolling. We had them winning by a touchdown. The Broncos sneak out of there winning by a field goal. In a game in which I didn't think the Chiefs played super great. I think they played solid. Especially, Travis Kelce had a decent day. Patrick Mahomes didn't have the worst day. But the main headline is the fact that Bo Nix didn't really turn the ball over. The offense was efficient. They were able to get down the field and be able to score. Not always touchdowns, but be able to put some form of points on the board. And the Broncos defense is just truly suffocating. That D line is phenomenal. I think right now they're on pace to break the sack record for most sacks in a season, and rightfully so. That front four is phenomenal, but the blitz packages they're calling up to not only get free rushers, but to confuse the quarterback. It's easy to confuse a guy like, let's say, Cam Ward, maybe Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, guys like that. But when you start confusing guys like Patrick Mahomes, a guy who's been to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, it's very, very talent. Very, what's the word I'm trying to look for? It's very, you have to be very talented and able to do that. You got to be very cerebral and know what you're doing. Not only to confuse Patrick Mahomes, but Andy Reid. Two guys who have seen and played a lot of football not only together, but just over the course of their careers, especially Andy Reid, to not know when a blitz is coming, where it's going to be coming from, and how can you stop it. And then when you get into these type of games with the Broncos have a decent run game. But not only is it because they have a decent run game, but his Chiefs defense is older. Right? Chris Jones isn't the Chris Jones of 3 years ago, where he was the best player in the league outside of maybe Aaron Donald when he was still playing, and was truly able to take over games night in, night out. Whereas now you're getting Chris Jones playing great every handful of games, hopefully the postseason when you get there. So when he's getting shut down, you don't have a whole lot of guys that can play great in order to make up for it. You have a bunch of good players, but your good players played better when you had players that were able to be great night in and night out. Whereas now you're starting to look at it as your great players can only be great every now and then, and that's what allows your teams to play phenomenal. I think the biggest stat that we can look at for this Chiefs team is last year they were 11-0 in one-score games. This year they're 0-5. All 5 losses. They're 5-5. All 5 of their losses have been in one-score games. Granted, it's hard to expect a team to be perfect in one-score games year in and year out. I remember a Minnesota Vikings team, I think it was second year with Kirk Cousins, second or third year with Kirk Cousins. They went 13-4, and they were phenomenal in one-score games. I think they also went undefeated in one-score games. Bring back the same team next year, and I think they won 2 out of 8 possible one-score games. It's hard to be that good in that certain situation, but yet we expect a team like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to be that good in those situations just because, not even just last year, just in general, you always feel like Mahomes, with a minute and a half left, field goal ish type game, he's going to get you in a position to win. What's the best way to stop that? Don't let him get into that position. You don't let him get in that position. And that's what Sean Payton and Bo Nix were able to do. They were able to put a drive together, get down the field, and be able to kill as much clock as possible in terms to where they were able to knee out the ball and kick the field goal with time expiring, so that Mahomes never even had the chance to put together a late last minute drive to try and tie it or win it. That is the blueprint of beating the Chiefs. You get after and confuse Mahomes. You don't give him many opportunities to put points on the board and get into a rhythm. We've seen this in the 2 Super Bowls that the Chiefs have lost, one to the Eagles and one to the Bucks. If you can confuse Mahomes, get after him, and limit his possessions, you're going to win. We've seen it quite a bit throughout this season of teams being able to do that, limit their possessions, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands, and close games late. If you're able to do that, you're going to beat this Chiefs game. They don't necessarily have all the juice to overcome all these flaws and be able to keep doing what they did last year. So I will say, great game plan, great execution by this Broncos team. They had an idea, they had what they wanted to do, went into this game, and they were able to do it. Was not the prettiest game, but in that type of weather, in that time of climate, in this time of year, they don't have to be pretty games. Wins just need to be wins. And this was a very good win for this Denver Broncos team. Then we get to Sunday Night Football. Another game that we thought was going to be great. We had the Detroit Lions traveling to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Eagles were 2.5-point favorites. I didn't trust in that line. I really thought the Lions were going to kind of blow them out of the water, 35-24. And that is not what happened. Eagles win 16-9. On a night where neither offense could really get into a flow, it was more so, I don't know if you want to call it great defense, bad offense, bit of both. I understand it was really cold, but even still, Lions had a chance to put a drive together to tie up this game, possibly go to overtime, or maybe go for two. Who knows? And it was a really bad penalty called right there. I think it was either just before the 2 minute warning or right after the 2 minute warning. Third down, Eagles have the ball. Jalen Hurts is trying to throw to his playmaker, A.J. Brown, and the refs call it defensive pass interference, which is automatic first down. And it was so bad that not only did probably a majority of the country agree that it was a bad call, Chris Collinsworth, who normally is very, you know, ticky tacky, doesn't like games being decided like this, typically tries to keep his opinion out of it, immediately goes, that's a call that's going to decide this game. That's going to end this game right now. The Lions are not going to have a chance. And he was right. He was right. Because the Eagles at that point got a first down that late into the game, was able to run out the clock. Lions never had a chance. Granted, I hate to say that truly decided the game because the Lions could not run the ball to save their lives and went for it on fourth down 5 different times and went over 5. There's a common phrase used in basketball, and there's a lot of teams that we associate with this term. It's a lot of coaches, analysts will say, live by the three, die by the three, right? We saw some of these great Warrior teams with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, even when Kevin Durant came into town, or the Houston teams that had James Harden, Chris Paul, PJ Tucker, really great shooting teams. And they commonly live by the three and die by the three. Their game plan was, we're going to go in here, shoot the most threes we can, and blow you out of the water. And when they were hitting their shots, best teams in the world. Truly were. But when they're not hitting them, there's not a whole lot they can do. They're going to be behind early. They're going to be behind late. They're going to try and claw their way out, and it's truly just going to be a bad night. That's what this Lions team's reminded me of. The Lions team's very good and very great, but they got to have all things working for them. They don't have a second gear they can shift to because their passing game is so reliant on their run game being so good because a lot of their passing game is based off of the play action. So in order to establish play action, you have to run the ball very well to make linebackers, safeties, corners, whoever think you're actually running the ball. That's what allows slight separation, on time, on rhythm to your playmakers out wide. If you can't run the ball, on 3rd and 5, we know there's not a chance you're running the ball. You're throwing this rock. So what are we doing? We're sending D linemen to get after you. We're playing our corners kind of press up. We know where the sticks are. We're going to make you throw it. And you're going to have to throw a perfect pass to your guy. And they're going to have to make it a contested catch. It's more times than not a piss poor recipe to win the game. And then when you hang your hat so heavily on constantly going for it on fourth down, you got to make sure you got plays calls that are going to work. And or if you're not fully 100% confident they're going to work, you got to kick some field goals. I think off the top of my head, I remember 3 being in plus side territories well within field goal range. And I understand it was a little windy, the ball's moving a little different because of how the wind's blowing, but you still had opportunities to put some points on the board. At some point, you got to be like, all right, after your first 1 or 2 fourth down attempts and you don't get it, at some point you got to be like, all right, let's just take the points. Let's keep it close. If we get into another situation again like this, we'll reassess. But to go for it 5 times on fourth down and go 0 for 5, I mean, that's, in my opinion, that is where the Lions lost the game because right there were several opportunities to put up some kind of points. Even if you kick field goals on 3 out of 5, that's 9 points right there. You lost by 7. Do the math, you're winning by 2. I'm just saying, there's a couple times where it's like, there's some big point swings here that are happening. Granted, the Eagles, in my opinion, didn't play that great either. Saquon Barkley didn't do a whole lot. He had a couple good carries that went for 4+ yards, but wasn't super consistent. The passing game wasn't really that consistent either. Their best bet was the fact that they were able to put one really good drive together that led to a touchdown, and you had your defense playing out of their mind, both in pass game and run game, limiting your opponent, and with them going on fourth down and not getting them, put your offense in pretty good positions where you only had to go maybe 30, 40 yards, and you were within a decent to good field goal range that you've trusted your kicker in making them. So I will say, I don't want to say it was like a coaching masterclass by Nick Sirianni out coaching Dan Campbell, even though you could make the argument because of the fourth down conversions. I think it truly was just the Lions were relying too hard on trying to find a second identity, and they're not able to because their team's really not built to go just pass heavy because they're built on run oriented schemes, and the fact that they went 0-5 on fourth down. Both of those just really killed them. And yet, with how bad of a night they really had in terms of not being able to run the ball and going 0-5 on fourth down, still only lost by a field goal. And if you don't have the one pass interference call that I didn't think was pass interference, if anything, it was offensive pass interference on A.J. Brown, you had a chance to get the stop and possibly put a drive together to tie it. Or win it. Who knows? You might have went for two and won the game. Who knows? So, right now, with two of the teams that look like they should be in the top of the NFC, wasn't the best shouting. It wasn't really the best showing for either, but yet somebody's got to win these games. The Eagles proved they still have enough juice to be able to go out here and win these types of games, which comes big in December and January, trying to work your way to the Super Bowl. So you have the Eagles go out there and get a big win. And then Monday Night Football, I mean, I know why we talked about this because it was Monday Night Football, but, I mean, Cowboys at Raiders. Cowboys were a 3.5-point favorite. We sniffed it out thinking that that was too low of a spread and that the Cowboys were going to blow them out of the water. We picked 28-10, and Cowboys were playing insane. Right? First drive was kind of weird. CeeDee Lamb nor George Pickens played in the first drive for coach's decision. Apparently discipline. I don't know exactly what the boys were doing, but they got in trouble. Had to sit out the first drive. What happened on that drive? 3 and out. Immediately after that, it was an air raid attack to both George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. They truly just went out there and dominated this game. There was nobody that could guard either one, no matter what they were doing. And even with those two being guarded so well, Jake Ferguson had a good night. The Cowboys actually ran the ball pretty decent for the most part. And I'll actually give credit to the Cowboys defense. They played pretty good. Outside of the fact of is Geno Smith they're playing against. Geno Smith isn't the best in the world. We're talking about a guy that has more interceptions than touchdowns right now. So, I mean, credit all the world. Cowboys got there, get a win. Maybe try and trend their way back into potentially a wild card spot. Who knows? It's still early. We'll have to wait and see what happens next week. They play the Eagles. But that is all I got for you this week. You know, something sweet, something short, simple, just getting right to the point, getting right into it. I thought we still all around had a pretty good weekend of NFL football. There was a couple games we didn't talk about that were close and were really good games. But yeah, that's all I got. If you're new here, subscribe, hit the notifications button, let you know when we're posting more content. If you've been around for a minute, like the video, share it with a friend. Trying to get bigger, trying to get better, trying to be able to do more. If you got any suggestions or there was a game that I didn't really touch on that you thought was probably the best game of the week, throw it down below. I'd love to hear it. But until next time, deuces.